Hi and welcome. I'm on holiday. So this is a pre-record, as it were, and we've got something different for you, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it. When I say I'm on holiday, I'm probably not far away from where this recording was made, because we're not going anywhere exotic. We're staying at home. But Helen and I are just taking a nice week off, and hopefully we'll come back fresh. So, what have we got in store for you today? Well, we have got a Zoom meeting. I've got a Zoom meeting with myself and 3 others, and we'll see how that goes. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. And I'd love to have your feedback on it. And if you like it, we'll do it again another time. And so we'll see. We've got the normal thing going on this week. I mean, we're away the whole week, but we've got the teams. I've already played it. I'm not going to give you any hints, but I played it last week. But that will be shown as usual on the Wednesday. And so enjoy that, I hope. And we've already recorded the Friday as well. The Friday live. So we're ahead of the game, which I'm hoping gives us a nice chance to basically not look at the computers for 9 days is the plan. And now it's going to be probably a struggle, but we'll do our best. So we'll be doing some cooking, definitely some walking, some cycling, reading, and just probably some sleeping as well, if I'm honest. And we'll have a few drinks. We'll try and relax and take it easy and come back with all sorts of things. That's the idea anyway. So obviously we've got the shop still up and running, and let's have a look at what I've got there. You can see that in a little glimpse of the modules you've got in the shop. You're able to purchase these live shows. Obviously this Monday's free, but if you want to watch your teams, you can watch your teams once a week, of course. So once a month, we're having that teams as a special offer at £4. It's usually going to be £6. But once a month, it'll be £4. We'll announce that each Monday. It'll probably be the first of the month each month. So if you do fancy having an experience of watching me live talk about my hands and make one mistake out of 12 and hopefully do 2 good things, which just about cancels out, we'll see. The other things, of course, the stream DVDs that we have. And you can buy the little modules, you can buy a set of quizzes, or you can have a seminar with set hands, and you can buy gift vouchers. So if you wish, you can buy a voucher for someone, either buy them a month of B&B, Bernard Magee Bridge, if you want someone to experience it, and hopefully stay from my point of view. Or you can buy them a voucher, you can buy them a DVD, something like that. So it's an idea for a Christmas present in this unusual Christmas that we're going to have. So before we go on to the Zoom, I'm going to introduce the players to you, but of course we have our hand evaluation. So let's go to the hand evaluation here and show you the hand. Now, some of you, of course, will have seen this last Friday. This is the hand I wanted you to look at. You can see you are, well, it's not a bad hand, is it? You're south. I want you to contemplate an opening bid. I also want you to contemplate an overcall. So imagine your opponent's opening a major. Would you make an overcall? So those are the things I'd like you to think about with that one. And we'll see what you come up with. And obviously we will revisit this after the Zoom. So yes, basically what would you open the bidding, and how would you deal with East opening one of a major, or one of a minor for that matter. Why not think of everything? Okay, well, one diamond as well. So we're going to have a little think about that while we go off and do a Zoom. So who have I got on the Zoom? Well, I'm going to be number 1. And then we have our 2 forum hosts. And they are Julian Pottage, who's based in Wales and is an expert who's been in bridge a long time, lots of books, and has written for Bridge Magazine, Mr. Bridge Magazine, for a long time, and has been the editor of it as well, and very learned on the game of bridge. And I've interacted with him many times. and it's nice to have a different bridge voice on the site. And I even give him permission to say what he likes. He doesn't have to toe any line, and that's the thing with bridge. It's important to understand that everybody has different views. Well, a lot of people have different views, and there'll be some questions where there are probably three right answers, or maybe 42% for one, 38% for another, and 20%, something like that. You can't always have a defined answer. And the other, of course, forum master, as it were, is David Stevenson. He is our resident director. He's been directing for the EBU for a long, long time. I shouldn't be saying long, long time, but yeah, he has. I'm sure he'll admit to that. And again, been writing for Bridge Magazine for a long time, involved in the re-editing of Duplicate Bridge Rules Simplified as well, playing a lot and doing a lot of online directing at the moment. So he's our second player Zoomer, and our third Zoomer is Sandy Bell. Now, Sandy's a lady as opposed to a male Sandy, and so we wanted to get a nice lady involved. And Sandy has been running bridge events for Mr. Bridge for a long, long time, and been playing bridge for a long time as well. And she is one of our best hosts, has always been one of our best hosts, and will often go out to venues to actually explore them for us. Now, of course, Mr. Bridge is closing, and Bernard Magee Bridge is coming in, and things will change. But Sandy's got a good perspective on a number of things, and I'm going to be trying to talk about bridge just as a whole, and when holidays will come and things like that. So I've got a few questions. What I will be hoping, though, is that if you enjoy it, we'll be taking questions from you in the future. Obviously, with this one having been pre-recorded, I'm afraid I can't really take your questions. So with those introductions done, let's go off to the Zoom. Well, here we are. This is our attempt at a Zoom meeting, and I've given them my introductions. We've got Sandy, David, and Julian here, and we will see. Well, I've got a few questions in mind, and perhaps if you enjoy this, we might have some questions sent in for another one. But I'm afraid you'll have to suffer with my questions on this occasion. And we're actually going to go with the ones that I think are on a lot of our mind. And I'm going to start with Internet Bridge. And I'll come to Julian. Julian, what are your views on Internet Bridge? And do you play much of it?
Well, I have played a bit of Internet Bridge even before the pandemic started, because it's quite useful. Living in South Wales, you can play against people from North Wales, or you can play against people from Scotland, Northern Ireland, and I've also been in a league playing against people from across Europe.
Are you playing much more now? Or?
Well, when the pandemic first hit, I suddenly found I was sort of playing every day, because everybody was saying, "Oh, are you free then? Are you free then?" And very soon the diary filled up, and I found I was playing a bit more than I wanted to. So I play in a league, which is about once every couple of weeks, and then I can fit in some other things around that. So probably averages out now about once a week.
And are you missing face-to-face bridge?
Well, when I was doing my accounts from last year, and I was looking at all these bridge events I played in, and there was a certain sort of sadness that that wasn't going to be repeated this year. But it's certainly a lot better than not playing at all. And I've played a couple of times on real bridge, which I think is quite exciting.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Okay, David, what about you?
Sorry, I don't know. That of all things is my wife's mobile.
We did before we started this Zoom, we said there may be the odd phone call. I'm going to go to Sandy. Sandy, how much Internet Bridge are you playing?
Actually, it's interesting. I'm playing far more than I thought I would. The very, very first game that I had with a friend of mine, I'm right-handed, and my right hand wouldn't stop shaking, and my heart was beating far too quickly for my own good. And I have to say, I found the whole process initially very, very daunting, particularly playing with the opposition that I didn't know. But having now had quite a bit of practice, I'm actually really enjoying it. However, I do prefer to play as a four with people that I know rather than playing with different people. The first time I ever plucked up the courage to go on my own, in actual fact, I put at the bottom in the chat, this is the first time I've ever played with anyone that I didn't know. And a very kind lady came back and said, don't worry, we'll look after you. So that was rather sweet.
Nice.
So now it's, you know, I feel much happier, but I do like to play with people I know rather than people that I don't know.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, David, we'll come back to you.
Yes, well, what the big difference of the pandemic is that I'm far, far, far busier than I've ever been before, because I am playing with my regular partner probably every day. I am directing for the English Bridge Union 8 times a week.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. And there's no free day. The only free days since the start of the pandemic are twice when we've gone to look at a little railway, which in fact I've done both with my bridge partner, her husband, my wife, 2 little railways, and that's the only days really that have been totally free. As to sort of whether it's enjoyable compared to face-to-face bridge, my partner and I are both of the feeling that when face-to-face bridge returns, we'll probably stick to playing online when it comes to sort of the equivalent of local bridge, rather than go to a club or that sort of thing. What we both really miss is the long distance traveling. And by long distance, I mean outside the outside the United Kingdom. We love going to Ireland, we go to the States, we go to this sort of thing. But when it comes to sort of going to Harrogate, for example, which I've now been to in my life about 50 times to play bridge, I think I could play online instead of travelling to Harrogate perfectly easily.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's
somewhere new.
It's certainly a thing that a number of clubs are worried about. You know, when we eventually get back to face bridge, that a few people will have got used to the online idea. And so, you know, and some of them might be more comfortable there. We will see. I mean, how about you, Sandy? You raring to go back to face bridge, or?
Well, it's quite interesting because we have started face-to-face bridge with 2 friends that we can actually trust. But what we've started to do is actually not play with real cards, but play bridge base online with the 4 of us, but in the same room. And that actually works quite well. And last night that wasn't the case, but I played online, and I have to say the weather was absolutely appalling. Thinking how wonderful that we didn't have to turn out for a game of bridge when we could play online, and I could even play my 90 if I wanted to. So it doesn't matter how you look or whatever, but
no, that's fair enough.
It would be a shame if we did lose the face-to-face, but as I say, on 2 laptops and 2 iPads, it worked very well the other night.
No, I've come across a lot of
if I might,
yes, certainly, David. Yeah.
If I might just say, we first of all, I don't think that we're typical club players anyway, because we sort of cut it down to almost never playing at the club, because we were traveling most weekends and because we play in leagues and that sort of thing. So I don't think we're the typical player anyway. Secondly, it's interesting what you say about the 90, because we've got the question really of things like real bridge and this sort of thing. I mean, even today I've put on a shirt. I mean, you know, I haven't put on a shirt many times since the start of lockdown. I normally wear grubby T-shirts.
I thought you were going to say a 90 then, David.
No. But I mean, real bridge is interesting. I think I'm not as enamored of it as other people are, but I think it will get better and better and better.
I think so.
And if it gets to the stage where I think it is better than BBO and that sort of thing, because of the social aspect, because you can talk to other people, I think that might be even more popular. And again, bad for the clubs, except of course, that clubs will be able to run their own real bridge tournaments. I've
Yeah, well,
already
that's the
played
hope,
in a
yeah.
club. I've already played in a club real bridge tournament twice, and we joined specially this club, which we don't attend, especially to play in their real bridge.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't think we really know how it'll go, but clubs have to embrace the online thing to survive. I don't think that they can just survive by just being live anymore.
So how long do you think, I mean, Julian, how long do you think it'll be until we get back to, let's say, normal face-to-face bridge? Or can you see various things a club could do? Or
Well, that's a good question. I was fortunate, actually. I happened to tune into a recording of something I think the Gordon Rainsford chaired, and apparently one of the people there was a club official that was a senior member in the NHS, and they were talking about thinking that playing bridge in clubs might be back again in May of next year. I think we're going to have to go through the winter without. From a personal point of view, I'm very much hoping that it's going to be back in June, because I'm hoping to go away and play in Madeira in June. But
that'd be nice.
I know lots of people really like it back. Before then, there have been one or two clubs who have found a way of doing it, but I think they're very much the exception rather than the rule.
yeah, I mean, they've the examples I've come across is where they have the equivalent of maybe 4 or 5 tables. They have a separate set of boards on each table, and they've gone a long distance to try and make it happen. And I think this was before we were relapsing again into harder regime again. But we'll see, because I mean, to get back to normal, I mean, obviously from my point of view, thinking about holidays, rather like you, Julian, saying Madeira. I mean, it's when one can think about running events, abroad or even in this country. I mean, similar. I mean, clubs are going to be in a position to create a scenario which is easier than, let's say, if I'm going to a hotel that's going to be once every 3 months. They're clearly not going to have things specifically set up for bridge, whereas at least a club's got that opportunity. But I think there's also the inclination of people. It's all well and good a club being set up to allow bridge, but are people going to want to go there, and how early are they going to want? I guess by the time we get to March, we might be getting desperate. So we'll see. We will see. How about you?
I think
Sam?
the other.
What are you?
Oh, well, I think the other thing to think about is that some people now at clubs, some of the more elderly people, don't like driving in the dark and don't like driving at night generally. And this could be, Bridge Online could be a godsend for those people who perhaps live on their own and used to go out in the evening to play, but perhaps don't have the confidence. This could be a life-saving situation for them, actually, that they can still play. I know they don't have the social interaction, but they could still say their bridge and still keep in touch that way.
Yeah, no,
I think I might.
Sorry.
I must say that on that particular topic, and nothing to do with online and the pandemic, I'm surprised that more clubs haven't switched to morning and afternoon bridge, just because of this principle that as people get older, they're less and less happy going out in the dark. And I'm surprised, really, that clubs don't think more of morning and afternoon bridge anyway.
Well,
Perhaps because this whole pandemic has shaken it up, when they start again, they might consider not necessarily restarting the same way as they did it before.
Possibly. I know in London.
I think more and more clubs are. Yeah. I think more and more clubs are actually thinking that way, which obviously is good.
Yeah, certainly I've noticed some of the London clubs, etc. There's a lot more afternoon bridge. It's amazing how many they would get for an afternoon session there. So we will see. It's all in the ether. I mean, I'm obviously when you're selling holidays or creating holidays, etc. You have to think. Well, you really need to be thinking at least a year ahead. So obviously that's what I'm trying to do now. And all I've really got you on here for is to try and help me guess when I should start. Come on, I want
I
answers
think
now.
I know I had a long discussion with Mr. Bridge at some stage, and at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was actually saying that perhaps as more and more people might well be nervous about flying to places and being on cruise ships, that perhaps there should be more emphasis on having holidays in the UK, not just weekends, but a week or two somewhere in a nice place. So that might well be an avenue that perhaps we could pursue.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, I have to say. Yeah, I've certainly been looking at some ideas in that, so we will see. We will see. Although I'm looking out of the window here now, it might not be the same weather as you're experiencing when you listen to this, but it's pretty grim out there. It's rainy and windy. I'd be surprised when you're listening to this that it will. I doubt it's going to be that sunny. So it's probably going to be pretty similar. Okay, well, let's move on. I'm going to move on to some more personal things. I'm going to talk about the forums. So obviously, Julian and David are doing a forum on the site for us. So let's come to Julian. And I'm going to ask Julian about how he's finding the forum and whether there's been any interesting questions or the like. Hold on a second. We've lost you, Julian. Your sound has gone. David, let's come to you, and we'll see if Julian can pick up the sound there. So, David, your forum, you've been talking about laws and ethics, of course. Have you got interesting, and are you enjoying doing it?
Well, I'm quite enjoying doing it. I mean, it sort of comes very much on from the articles in Mr. Bridge, but the difference, of course, of the forums here is that other people answer, so that you get not just a question and an answer, but other answers. How can I put this tactfully? Some of which are helpful. and that is interesting. Of course, the other big difference is that the questions are more and more to do with online bridge, and it's easy sometimes to forget that there is more online bridge than just BBO.
Yeah.
Because there's Bridge Club Live, which I believe does not use self-alerting.
No, so that's right.
There's always the problem.
Yeah.
But when I answer a question based on self-alerting, it actually doesn't apply to Bridge Club Live. No. There's Wales, I believe, are using a lot of Step Bridge. And I have no idea about Step Bridge, and I'd love it if I got a question specifically on Step Bridge, because then I'd have to sort of investigate to find the answer.
Fair enough.
I mean, there are still plenty of questions of the traditional sort, like my opponent doubled one no trump, and they said it was for takeout, and is this allowed, and is this whatever, and should it be alerted? And you get lots of questions of that sort. And those will apply just as much online. But of course, the difference is now that I don't get the people who argue about why did I lose a trick for a revoke? Because of course you can't revoke online.
Yeah, no, which is good.
The forums, I think, are really quite a good idea. Of course, Julian gets rather more because it's a specific thing to ask about laws and ethics and regulations. It's always a thing to remember that a lot of the questions are really concerned with regulations. It might even be better if it was just called a rules and ethics sort of thing to cover that, because, well, of course, a lot of people just don't know the difference, but the difference may come, for example, and I have found this sometimes when answering questions from Mr. Bridge, that some questions, the answer is different whether you're in England or whether you're in Scotland.
That's true, yes. No.
Whether you're in Wales or whether you're in Ireland, because my assumption is that the magazine is read over the British Isles, and there are 5 different areas, and they basically have 3 sets of regulations.
Yeah, same problem on the holidays, of course. When you run the holidays, it's British people coming on them, so you tend to have them from all the things. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the Irish have basically got a set of regulations now that they've agreed with each other, and the England and Wales basically do, and Scotland doesn't want any part of anything that they consider English. So, well, I mean, I'm not saying that's a serious comment, but it's. I
Yeah.
think there's a little thinking behind that somewhere, and so I've got that. But this applies with the online as well. So one has to be careful. But the questions are interesting. The question I've had most, the one that I was asked about most concerned undos. These things where can you undo in the bidding, and I asked for an undo and my opponents refused, and should this be allowed?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because of course there are various different views of this, and to make it worse, this is very different in different competitions.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I've had a couple of occasions when I've been doing my Bridge Live, the one that I record, and I asked the audience, should I allow them to undo? And it turns out they didn't want to, but there was one recently where it was a very odd auction. And I would always ask them if they wanted an undo. Not that that's particularly legal either, really. You should just, they're the ones you should be asking. But anyway, let's see if Julian is available. Julian, are you?
Oh, you can hear me now, right? Brilliant.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we're talking about Julian's forum. Let's see what he's got to say.
Right. So, well, I did have a quick look. There wasn't really any one I thought I wanted to single out, but I think it's really great. I've had 145 topics and 510. I can't remember the technical term what it was, but 510 sort of
posts. Yeah.
Posts. Corresponding with those ones. Occasionally I've had to sort of send something, need to start to ask David rather than myself, but it's just really good to know that, when you provide a service, that there are actually people interested in using it, and, that provides satisfaction in itself.
So how do you find the actual element of interaction? Because clearly when you were doing it for the Bridge magazine, you would write a response and you don't have to deal with other people responding. Do you like that, or?
Well, sometimes people will get in first, but obviously I'm conscious of the fact that there is a Facebook place where people can ask questions if they want to ask questions from fellow players. So if they put it in the Ask Julian, they're looking for an expert's opinion rather than a peer one. Although there are often people who come in, but usually the people who come in have actually got something quite interesting to say and something quite useful.
Yeah. You're very polite, Julian. But no,
I just asked David.
Certainly, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask David a question. Presumably, David, behaviour at the table comes under your jurisdiction, because I think that so many people have been very upset by the behaviour of the opposition when you're playing and you don't know them. And I'm just wondering what one can do about that, because it can be extremely upsetting.
There isn't as much as that one can do as perhaps that you might feel that there ought to be, because part of the reason, quite frankly, is that a lot of people are tolerant and some people less so. And so I get some complaints from things that one would just tolerate. The most obvious example of this, which applies very much on BBO, is the question of slow play. Because people think, why shouldn't they? You think, well, they think they've got a problem. They've got a problem. And sometimes, especially if you're a better player and perhaps can see these things, they haven't got a problem. And I'll give you an example from my own experience. The other day, I played two consecutive sessions on the EBU duplicates. And from about the second round of the first session till about the first round of the second session, every single opponent played slowly on very easy hands. In fact, in several occasions, it turned out they could have claimed 6 tricks earlier. And my partner and I never say a word. We just live with it. We tell each other afterwards, we argue, we say, well, I wish they wouldn't, but we don't say anything to them. And then after that, 6 rounds running, the next round, my partner played a hand slowly and the opponents harassed her. And they went on and on about how it was slow and how the time was going on and this sort of thing. And I just thought, that's terrible. One just has to stand for this. And in fact, I must say, I didn't know this till afterwards. I spoke to her afterwards, and she said, "Oh, I don't look at the chat. I didn't know they were harassing me."
That's the thing when you're dummy. When you're dummy, you've got all the time in the world to look at the chat. Yes.
Solve the problem. Well, I look at the chat anyway, but it's more a question of what should perhaps a player do. Now, if it's a question of slow play, the only thing a player should ever do is to tell the director. And it's up to the director whether to do anything about it.
Okay.
But pretty much it's a question of tolerance. And I think my impression is that people are less tolerant online than they were in clubs. Now, it may be because they don't know the people. It may be even because they can't see the people. When somebody's thinking and it's in a club, you can see the person, wonder what I should be doing.
You can also see when they drop off as well, and give them a nudge to wake them up, and that can be a problem.
Yes, yeah. Now in BBO, I mean, it's all very well. If somebody thinks for 3 minutes, you should tell the director because they might have gone offline or something. But if they're just thinking about what to do next, you can't actually see this, and that is a problem. No. That is one thing where I think real bridge will be better. Because when you
David,
can see the opponent.
I'm going to stop you there because I'm going to finish with one last question to Sandy.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap up. So, Sandy, how about reminiscing about your favourite holiday so that we can be thinking for the year ahead? Can you give us a...
Well, I have to say that there have been several holidays that I've really, really enjoyed. And don't forget that when you're actually hosting a holiday, it all depends on the guests as to how well you enjoy it or not. And sometimes when you've got some difficult people, and that takes the enjoyment away, of course. And but I have to say, one of my favourite places, I think, has to be Istanbul. I think it's the most vibrant city of all the cities I've ever been to in the world. And every time I've been back there, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. So Istanbul is certainly a place. And of course, normally you're actually calling in there on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So it's not a land-based holiday; it's a cruise ship holiday. And also Tenerife last year was the first time we'd ever been there. And although it was a difficult time for me from the point of view of illness and accidents, all the guests were absolutely wonderful and very, very supportive, and lots of them couldn't wait to go back to Tenerife next year. So certainly Tenerife is one I would suggest that you bear in mind at some stage, because it was enjoyed by everybody who came.
No, well, that's nice. But I would certainly agree with you in terms of the clientele and the people. Not that we ever have anybody difficult, Sandy. I think you just had a slip of the tongue there. No, but generally, no. I mean, it's the same when you play bridge. To be honest, it's the same for the most part when you're playing real bridge or when you're playing live bridge or whatever. If you're comfortable with the people you have, rather like you said, Sandy, you enjoy the internet experience actually more when you're playing with your friends.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap up there. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. It's been different. And if you do, what we'll do perhaps in the future is we'll invite some questions from the audience and see how we get on. So thank you, Julian. Thank you, David. And thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. It actually has been enjoyable, so thank you.
Good.
Bye.
Good. Hi, welcome back after the Zoom. Hope you enjoyed it. And if so, well, may well do one again at another time. Interesting, the different participants and their technical knowledge. And obviously you get used to the way these things work, and the more you get used to it, the more relaxed you get. I mean, I still faff around when I'm doing this and don't look at the camera, etc., because of the various screens. But when I first started, oh my goodness, it seems a long time ago. COVID seminar number 1. Would it be March? No, we didn't start. April. We started in April or March, but a long time ago. And gosh, was it raw then? It was, really nervous and everything. And it's, in a sense, it's second nature. I regard it as part of my working week, as it were, and quite enjoy it. It's a bit odd doing this pre-recording, but there we go. Anyway, let's go to where we should be going, which is the hand evaluation. So this was the hand I gave you. And the question was, what would you open? But also what you're going to overcall. And I'm going to be honest, it's going to be an overcalling situation that we're going to deal with. But the opening bid would be 1 no trump. Okay, particularly this vulnerability, non-vulnerable against vulnerable, 1 no trump, a nice opening bid. 12 to 14 points in a balanced hand. Now, balanced doesn't mean points all over the place. Okay, it tends to mean your shape. When I've got a strong 5-card major, I tend to bid it because I'm quite happy getting that major, and particularly spades, because it's just as preemptive. But the idea of 1 no trump opening is that it cuts out the 1 heart and 1 spade overcalls, whereas 1 diamond almost invites them. And don't forget, going off in a no trump is often better than letting them make a part score in a major. Okay, so instead of that, it goes 1 spade and it's your bid. It goes 1 spade and it's your bid, and you've got to decide what to do. And I guess most of you will probably know, as it's in a seminar, there must be some reason for not bidding 2 diamonds. A lot of people would bid 2 diamonds here. And if the diamond suit was a little bit stronger, you would pretty much know it was the best lead. But given that you've got ace king of clubs in your hand, you've got to think, why am I bidding 2 diamonds? Okay, what's the reason behind it? Because usually when I make a 2-level overcall in a minor, it's a 6-card suit. And that allows my partner to evaluate where the best fit is. So bear that in mind. If it went 2 diamonds, 2 spades from the opponents, my partner might even support on, a 2-card suit. So usually I'll come in maybe with a really strong 5-card suit. I might do it. The problem with coming in here is you might not get the right lead. You may also end up in the wrong contract. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Let's say you bid 2 diamonds. Here, if you bid 2 diamonds, the auction carries on pass, pass, double, pass from you, obviously, pass, pass. Now, I'm going to be honest. This kind of auction does not come up so often at the club, at the Standard Bridge Club, because they're not doubling enough. It'll often end up, I suppose, East rebidding 2 spades. So it goes a spade, 2 diamonds, pass, pass, 2 spades. I've shown you this reopening double a number of times, where it's important that East includes the partnership. This double by East is a great bid. It says, partner, look, I've shown you my spades already. You choose what you think is the best thing to bid. And with only 8 points, there's no particular reason why West should think a game is on. So he's selecting the penalty from 2 diamonds doubled as a better score than making a part score. Bear in mind, on this kind of auction, you cannot guarantee that your partner's got 4 hearts. Okay, quite often, if your partner has 5 spades and 4 hearts, he would have rebid 2 hearts here. Are you happy with that? So, and remember, if he was 4-4 in the majors, he would generally open 1 heart. So if he was 5-4, I think he's bidding both suits because he thinks that's going to be the best place to play. So you won't always have a heart fit. And so I think it's a good decision by West to pass. And it's not very nice, I'm afraid. It really isn't very nice, is it? I suppose I could play it through a little, but it's probably going to go. I'll take control and just show you a little bit of the play. Let's have a look. 9 of spades, probably. You should cover that, of course. King of spades would win the first trick. East will show where his strength is now by playing the ace of hearts there. But he suspects that both players have a doubleton spade, so he's not going to go there. He's shown the ace king of hearts. So I think now maybe switching to the weakness in So he plays a club. What does declare do? I have no idea, to be honest. I guess you win the ace, guessing that the queen is wrong. And I don't know what to do. It's not a contract I'd want to be in. You chose to bid 2 diamonds, or you didn't. I don't know. I haven't seen. So I mean, it's going to be, let's say you just decide a passive heart. Clearly, East is going to win those hearts and then play another club. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Maybe Declarer decides to finesse. It's really not nice. And now, of course, a spade to make sure they've taken their spades. I mean, it's horrible. I think East is probably going to play a spade. Can you see that? Or even maybe play a trump. But if he plays a spade, you don't really want to throw your club away, so maybe you rough a diamond, it gets over roughed. Maybe it even goes the Queen of Hearts here. Maybe rough with the 9, but over rough with the 10. It's pretty ugly, isn't it? You're getting the picture, I think. And I think West is going to make 2 more tricks, I'm afraid. So that means South finishes with 4 tricks. Painful, 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 painful. And that is 800 on a little part score hand. It may be the case that you'll scrape home in 3 no trumps. You might scrape home in 3 no trumps, but anyway, 800 is worth more than that. Bear in mind that nobody's sensibly going to bid 3 no trumps with 2 balanced hands, no fit, and just 23 points between them. So there's no reason that anybody will be in a game. So 2 diamonds can be, even if you push it. So, I mean, it doesn't take much. If I give you the Jack of diamonds or the 10 of diamonds, so move the 10 of diamonds from East and swap it for the 6, you'd be surprised at how much difference that makes. It will make at least 1 trick, if not 2 tricks difference. And now, I suppose, so I'd want a robust suit. It's the 3rd card in your suit. With a 6-card suit, ace, queen to 6, I'm prepared to do it. The chances of this nasty break is a lot less, and you're going to make 1 extra trick anyway. If I'm going to overcall on a 5-card suit at the 2 level, generally I want 3 high cards. So that can be ace, queen 10, ace, jack 10, those kind of things. But also, generally I want to be sure that the diamond lead is going to be best. Here, I mean, it's quite obviously a club lead could be best. So I'm not sure, and therefore why take a risk? So I've made you non-vulnerable, but obviously vulnerable, particularly, you wouldn't do this bid either. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that one. We'll have a look at one other hand in a moment, because it was came in from a, I was going to say listener, but it's not quite, a viewer or a member, shall we say. Just to remind you about the ebooks that we've got. There we go. Those are the sets of ebooks we get. Of course, they're sold on, not eBay, I was going to say eBay, Amazon. But you can click through to Amazon from our site and you can have a look there. You don't have to, the clicking doesn't mean you buy it. It means you can look at the book and you can view a few of the hands. And it's just bidding quizzes in the normal way you see, and as you'll see at the end of this one, but in a nice and easy format to use. And obviously you can take it with you and have a little go. No videos on that one, just a quiz on one page and then the answer on the next. Okay, well, let's look at this hand. This came in from Sue Whiting. I thought it was quite an interesting one. So we'll have a look at it. And the question was about protection. So let's see what happens on this one. So North opened a weak 2 hearts. And it went pass correctly from East, a balanced hand. South had a tricky decision, but with 13 points and no real fit, I think pass is correct. I mean, there are going to be some hands that your partner holds that you could make a game. If your partner had, no, it would have to be ace, king, queen to 6, I suppose, in hearts. But it's going to be a magic hand. And you could still be going off even if partner held that. Okay. So it goes pass. What about West? would you make a bid with the West hand? Now, obviously you can't see the South hand, so bear that in mind. And it's very much borderline. If my Jack and 10 of clubs was swapped for the 7-4 of spades, i.e. the spade suit was better, I think I'm pretty much definitely going to bid 2 spades. If I was non-vulnerable, I think I would bid 2 spades. But it's very, and in a way, this is very much for you to do. What you do when you're the last player to bid is you borrow a king. So you imagine a king in West's hand, and obviously not the king of spades, but the king of hearts or the king of diamonds or the king of clubs. Imagine that was in your hand for one of the small cards. Would you make a bid? Would you make a bid in the first seat? And it's very much borderline still. It's the strength of the spades. So I have a feeling I might pass. Having said that, I do like to bid. By the way, everybody's vulnerable. If you hadn't noticed the red flags in the centre. So I think I'd have probably passed. Let's see what happens though if you do bid 2 spades. So 2 spades was bid. Obviously North passes. What does East do? Well, this is crucial. Okay, 1, East has to understand his partner might have borrowed a king. But 2, East has to understand that the hand is not that good. The Queen of Hearts could be waste paper. Okay, remember that's North's hand. I know the Queen is in the right place of an offer and it won't be worth a trick in playing a contract. And you are aceless. And although that's made up for by 3 10s, you have the dreaded 4-3-3-3 shape. So everything in that hand says do not bid anymore. So we're going to pass. And now it's quite interesting for South, because South is looking at a pretty good hand and may well want to compete over 2 spades. And it's interesting. I think 3 hearts is reasonable. You could, 3 diamonds would be an odd bid here. Wouldn't necessarily, but I think 3 hearts is a reasonable bid. And that, I think, should probably finish the auction still, even now, with the 3 heart bid. I don't think East should be competing there. I really don't think East should compete to 3 spades. It's such a horribly flat hand and partner might have borrowed. But it's borderline, and I can understand if you did bid 3 spades. What's interesting is I think 3 hearts is going to make, so although we've pushed them up, and West has had a victory here, he's pushed them up a level, that's always our ambition. What's interesting is that 2 spades is really, really, really unlucky. Because if you did play in 2 spades, I think North has to lead. Has to lead one of his doubletons. I think. And if he chooses the right one, a club, it would go a club to the Queen, ace of clubs, club rough, and then a diamond to the ace and king, and a 3rd diamond. And in theory, they're going to make the first 6 tricks there, which is rather nasty. And they still got a heart to come. Well, no, you might be able to throw your heart. That's true. You might be able to throw your heart. So you might just go 1 off. So 2 spades may just go 1 off. Because I think you can throw your heart on the 3rd round of diamonds there. They take the first 3 club tricks, ace, king of diamonds, and when they play the 3rd round of diamonds, rather than roughing, you can discard your heart. And so in that way, you will make 2 spades -1. And 2 spades -1 would have been a great victory. -100 instead of -140 for 2 hearts +1. And even it would even be better than 2 hearts making for 110. I know it's only 10 points. So that's interesting. So 2 spades, I think, is a victory. But 3 spades would not be. 3 spades would go 2 off. And 2 off is too much. So that's really tricky for East, because I think a lot of Easts, after the 3 heart bid from South, which again I think is a good bid, you've got to fit. Your partner's opened a vulnerable 2 hearts. So I think it's reasonable to bid there. He didn't bid 3 hearts originally because he's got such a strong hand. He was thinking they might not be able to compete, and that's understandable as well. And as you can see, West nearly didn't compete. Okay. So an interesting hand. So I hope you enjoyed that one. I thought I'd show you that one. Thanks, Sue, for sending that in. She sent me 2 examples and both of them went slightly wrong. So, and getting used to last hand bidding is important as a partnership, because of course often as East in that hand, you'd be expecting more for your partners to spade bid, but of course they've borrowed something from you. They know that often you're very balanced, as you saw East was on that hand, and so it's the unbalanced hand that is the one that's usually able to bid. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed today, the Zooming and my recordings and things like that. I hope you'll enjoy the site while I'm away. For those of you who are members, if you're not a member, why not? Start signing up now, or do go and look at the shop. And I hope those members do enjoy the Wednesday and the Friday as well. Before I go, of course, I've got to show you the bidding quiz. So let's just put that up. And here it is. 1 no trump from your partner, pass. It's game all. So it's 1 no trump, pass, and it's your bid. 1 no trump from your partner, pass, and it's your bid. Don't forget, you can get the answer to it on the website, or you can get it from the homepage. You go to the homepage, don't have to be a member. You can sign in as a bidding quiz member, and you can get the bidding quiz answer as delivered by me. So thank you very much. Have a nice week and weekend, in fact, and I hope to see you all on next Monday. Fresh and bushy, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. That's the expression I'm looking for. Thank you very much.